This is Chiming In with Elyse and David. Do you remember when we were first dating and you told me that you came home temporarily? You were between contracts and you needed to go back to search for a ballet company that you wanted to dance for. And all of a sudden, we had this dilemma because I was working at a law firm that was located in Virginia Beach, and I wasn't able to go anywhere. And you needed to go to pursue your career.
Yes, I do remember because I was like, does this guy like me enough? Are we saying I love you yet? And when does that happen? And then are we like going to be together? Is this real?
I want you to know that I resisted saying I love you for a while, and there was a really, really big reason. And that is I didn't
You
want
weren't
it.
sure.
No, I knew it from the first date that we went on. No, I didn't say it initially because I didn't want it to just be words. I didn't want it to be oh, I love you. It was almost too sacred for me to actually put into words. And I didn't feel like we knew each other long enough for me to say the words where you would actually believe me. So I
That's
waited.
probably a good call. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, it was painful waiting for that day,
Well, it did come.
of course.
But getting back to the story.
No, this is great. So I definitely couldn't figure out if I needed to put my career on hold, end my career dancing. I just, everything was up in the air until I had a solid, proposal from you. And I mean, I felt like we were going down that road, but I wasn't sure.
Right. Well, I wanted to propose to you much sooner than I did, but I wanted to give you the perfect ring for an engagement. And by that time, you and I, if you remember, we had looked at a couple of places, and there was one ring that you absolutely loved. Do you remember what that ring was?
Well, yes, dear, I do because I own it. But yeah, a sign of the times, it was one of those tension set rings. So the diamond or stone, I actually think it had to be a diamond because of the pressure, but the tension set made it so the diamond looked like it was floating.
Right. The ring was holding the diamond.
There were no
in place.
prongs, zero prongs.
Right.
Thought that was cool.
And it took a while to get that ring because I was using a diamond that my grandmother had graciously given me to give to you. And it took a lot longer than I anticipated to have it made.
Yes, and I did not know anything about that. So I was second guessing for weeks and months if this guy was real.
Right.
Or for real.
Meanwhile, the whole time
Already.
it was in the works. So finally I got the ring in November.
You asked my mom for permission, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
That's so cute.
Yes, and she thought about it for a little while, but then she said yes. So I wanted to give it to you in a very special, meaningful way. And I had an idea of having airplanes deliver the message. Like if you've been down to the oceanfront, you'll see there are airplanes that have these advertisements that tell people on a big like ticker ribbon
like a
behind
banner.
a banner, right? It says, eat at the, restaurant down the street or whatever and get crabs or whatever. And I wanted to see if
How did you get that idea? Did you ever see this before?
No,
I mean, there was
hadn't.
no YouTube or anything.
No, I just thought of it. I thought, well, we're at the beach and I know that these things exist. So step 2 was, how do I get you down to the oceanfront?
Right. So I had received a phone call from your mom
Arranged by me.
unbeknownst to me, and she said it was a very strange phone call because it was common knowledge at the time that the hotel we ate breakfast in often, like every Sunday at the time, that they were renovating. It's an oceanfront hotel. And she said that the waitress we saw every weekend was holding a carpet, like an area rug, that she thought I might like for our house. So they were, instead of getting rid of it, she wanted us to see it. And I had a lot of questions. I was like, first of all, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but why would I want this carpet? All I could picture was like some kind of ornate kind of, I don't know, just like not my style carpet. So I had all these questions, and my mother-in-law, not at the time, but she basically hung up. She's like, I don't know, I'll find out. And when she hung up, now I know, she immediately called David and was ranting and panicking that she doesn't know what to say
Right.
at all. And she feels so stupid giving me this whole song and dance, right?
Right. Yeah, and that was very funny. She was very, very upset that
Yes,
she didn't have the answers.
Yes. And you told her, you have to tell her it's like 8x10 neutral contemporary.
Right. Because I knew that would be something that might pique your interest.
Yeah, I would be like, okay. And so she did. So I get all the answers back, and I'm like, okay, I guess. And I'm like, David, you should come down and see this with me. This is so strange.
Right. And I'm like, why do I want to go down to the hotel and look at a carpet? I was actually making, I think, you feel like I've got to convince him to come down here and do this.
You acted like your mom was crazy and the whole thing was dumb.
Even though I was arranging the whole thing.
I'm like, well, we should be nice. Let's just go, whatever.
Right. So I think it was a Thursday afternoon that we went down.
It was middle of the day because you had your suit on, and
right.
I had my overalls on or something.
Right. So we get to the hotel. No, you didn't have your overalls on. Actually, your black overalls,
yeah, black
right?
corduroy.
Yeah, I remember that outfit. So I got there first.
Yes, and I pulled up, and you told me that the waitress and the carpet, we had to wait a little bit. It wasn't ready.
Right.
She wasn't off her shift yet.
Exactly. So I suggested that we go out on the beach.
Yeah, you're like, want to take a walk on the beach? And it was a gorgeous day. It was like in the mid-70s, mid-November.
Yes,
and
it was beautiful.
I was like, sure. Like, that sounded like amazing.
Right.
Beautiful. Except my the way my brain works is I'm like, David doesn't like the sand, and he's wearing his suit, and he's wearing his nice like dress shoes.
Right.
What is going on?
I know it
here?
probably was not the smartest.
But I let it go. I really did. Thank God I didn't like spiral about that, because I could have given you a really hard time. But for some reason I did not.
Right. So I walked you out onto the beach, and
no one's out there. It's completely empty, and maybe like one person walking, but it's very quiet.
Right.
And way up in the head in the distance, I see a blanket.
Yeah.
And what I thought was just like a bucket, like on the beach. I just couldn't imagine it was anything else. So it was just not in my conscious. It was just sort of there. And we were walking towards it.
We walked towards it. And as we got a little bit closer,
you started saying nice things.
I said some nice things.
You kind of started down this, whatever we were talking about, you let that lead into essentially whatever you had come up with for this completely dramatic proposal that I have no awareness is happening. I'm probably still tripping about the carpet, that it exists in the first place, and that we're supposed to be going to look at it.
Right.
And one of those biplanes starts to head our direction. Nothing unusual, literally. And as we get a little closer to that blanket, still I can't tell anything different. The plane comes flying over, and you stop. And you turn us so we could see what the banner said.
Do you remember what it said?
I do. Hi.
So tell everybody what it was.
Because you forgot?
No, of course I remember. I'm the one that wrote it.
It said, Elyse, will you be mine forever and marry me?
That's right.
Love, David.
That's it.
So that was a surprise. And it was really good, because I don't always get to have a good surprise, and because I'm so busybody, I know everything before it happens.
That's right.
But and and I was dying, and I realized that the blanket and the quote bucket that was sort of seeing in the distance actually was a bucket of ice, I believe, and a bottle of champagne.
Yes.
And a rose.
Yep.
Right? And you got on the blanket and proposed fully at that point. The plane flies around multiple times and
Yep.
keeps going. So it was very special and a beautiful day. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish we could have, I didn't have, remember, no cell phones, no smartphones, no cameras. So I started going, oh man, that would have been so cool to take a picture of this.
Right.
And out from very far in the distance comes your dad, your mom, and my mom, who were all huddled together, hiding.
Yes.
And like, were they videotaping?
My
We do
father
have some.
was videotaping the whole thing.
Like,
So.
yes, and so there's a little video where like little ants way in the distance, and there's some photos somebody took, and so we do have it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And do you remember what happened when we opened the champagne bottle?
Yes, the cork went flying off in the distance, like up in the air so high, and somehow a seagull flies right by at the exact right moment and snatches it up in its beak and flies away.
Right.
And I could not. The timing of that was unbelievable. I didn't even like look at it as the way I would now, which was like super, like that's crazy that happened. I was just pissed that I didn't get to keep the cork.
I know. You were like so upset.
Which was kind of stupid. But yeah, it was a kind of magical day. So all of that to say, of course I said yes, obviously. And I had the beautiful tension set ring, and I had no idea that all those months had been going by that you had planned so beautifully. And I loved that your grandmother, who I adored, that I could wear her, her diamond, and it was just very special.
Yes, it was amazing. So one of my favorite gifts that you've ever given us are the wind chimes that are sitting on our porch. I love it when there's a wind because it starts making this beautiful chorus of music. And I love it.
I love it too. Obviously, I'm a little bit obsessed with anything chimes. So today I just wanted to give a shout out to where I got those chimes. It's a Virginia company. They're all made right here in our beautiful state, and they're inspired by nature. The company name is Wind River Chimes, and it's windriverchimes.com. And they actually have a sale this week. It's only for a couple more days. It does end on Thursday. So their website is beautiful. And you can actually hear all the different chimes before you buy them. And I actually have given them multiple times as gifts. They're wonderful for wedding gifts, anniversary. Also, sometimes if you want to honor somebody who's passed as a memorial, I've given them as birthday gifts. And you can engrave the thing that
hangs down.
And so, yeah, they come in all different sizes. They're outdoor, indoor, and talk about helping find your calm and kind of bring everything back down to being mindful. They're the best.
Yeah, and they are beautiful.
windriverchimes.com.
So being engaged meant that you were stuck in Virginia Beach and that you would not be going off to some exotic location to dance.
Correct. So I, continued dancing at the company here and tried to sort it out.
And I loved watching you dance at the company here.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
One evening, you and I were out having a night swim at the Ocean's condominium on the oceanfront. And it was a full moon, and we were just chatting and trying to sort through life. I was having anxiety over my next steps now that I was definitely staying here. And I had an epiphany.
And what was that?
You don't remember?
Well, I think it had something to do with Pilates.
Correct. I realized that night that I was thoroughly enjoying my time in the Pilates studio, which was the first time I had ever experienced Pilates, was here, and how incredibly life-changing that type of mind-body conditioning was. Even to me and my body as a dancer, I mean, I would have to say, like, ballet is completely a mind-body sport, right? I mean, and I also connected that night that how much I really love to teach. I had experience teaching ballet prior to that moment, so I knew that was the one thing I realized for myself that I was good at. I could never know anything else until that teaching experience. And suddenly I felt like I loved giving and I loved seeing people light up with understanding. And so I connected that night under that gorgeous moon that I loved it and I was really loving Pilates and I should go and get certified.
Right. So what did that entail, getting certified?
So that entailed me logging my hours as a client. I needed, I believe, 600 plus hours to even apply to the program. And at the time, the program was in New York and it was all underneath Joseph Pilates protege, Romana Krzyzanowska. And she was the head, the head guru, the head teacher. So if you wanted to learn Pilates, that was really the only place you could go learn it.
And so when you went there, what would you have to do under her?
Yeah, so every morning I, got up early, went across town, and I was staying with my aunt and uncle on the Upper East Side, so I had to go all the way down to Drago's gym. And it was an amazing place because Drago had a gymnastics side of the studio. So a bunch of like quite on the older side like of life people came and did all sorts of like circus stuff on rings, and I don't know what they were doing, but we would just always see these like, I don't know, like let's just say pretty elderly like person like flying across the studio on the rings. It was amazing. While the whole other side of the studio was Pilates. So it was a very fascinating place, and I would get there very early because Romana got up very early, and she really liked the apprentices who were, there fresh for the whole day. And we would just learn from her, and she taught us the method of contrology. That was the name Joseph Pilates used when he was designing the exercises. Did you know that?
I did not know. What does that mean, contrology?
The art of control. So nowadays, we of course all call it Pilates. That was just his last name. And that's why I think it's a little confusing sometimes what even that weird word is. That was the man's last name. And he called it contrology, and he believed that it was essential that our mind connect to our body and our muscles in a way that was intentional and deliberate, and that gave the most strength anyone could have.
It's so interesting that you talk about this connection between the mind and the body when you're talking about this working out. Up until this point, I feel like when I worked out in the gym, there was very little thought when I was pushing the weight up and doing bench press and all the different weights. It was not really about thought. It was more about what am I able to do? And I would just do the movement, and there wasn't really a connection.
Exactly. And same with a lot of the cardio equipment, right? A lot of TVs are up, right? It's like just distract yourself from your work. Exactly. Thank you. So that is the complete opposite of what Joseph Pilates was teaching. So you can take the teaching of Pilates and put it into your weight workout or your cardio workout if that is something you like to do. it is a complementary workout to anything else, to be
So what
honest.
would that look like? What would you do if you were on the cardio equipment and you've got the TV in front of you? What would you be doing instead of just looking at the TV mindlessly?
Right. So I like walking on the treadmill, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I would be making sure that my feet are in parallel position and not, for me especially, not turned out. Okay, but a lot of people are. I would make sure that I was trying to walk on either side of an imaginary center midline, almost like a runway model without crossing your, they kind of cross the midline when they walk down. So don't cross, but basically right down a midline. Okay, which you can practice anywhere. Just like pick a line on the floor and try to walk one foot on either side of it. I would be thinking about so that's from the bottom. I would be thinking about how my foot is articulating each time I go heel through my toe, like that. Going up, I would make sure my knees and hips are stacked. My posture, my abdominals are pulling in and up so that I'm actually supporting my spine while I'm walking and letting my upper shoulder and upper carriage of my chest and rib cage kind of floating on top of it all. Okay, and then of course your arm movement, or you can hold on for balance, and then ideally my head, neck would also be stacked essentially. So if the TV's too high and your head is tilted back for however many minutes, I would be mindful that I really shouldn't do that.
So how would you help someone who's weightlifting, who's doing some sort of movement, let's say bench press? They're sitting with their back on the bench and they're about to lift a bar full of weights off of the rack, and they're going to push it down to their chest and push it straight up. What would you do there?
It would need to have a really strong sense of core. So those abdominals need to be pulling again in towards the bench and up towards your head. Okay, so that feeling is connecting in towards your back muscles. And then,
so you're talking about activating them, like holding them really tight, like while you're...
well, so here's the rub. A lot of people inadvertently push their abdominal muscles out, therefore have no support to their back body. That goes for any position, anytime, honestly. So in other words, if you're standing and your abdominals, you sort of flex them and you push them outwards, if that makes sense, like you're bearing down. That is of use in your body for reasons we don't need to discuss here if you think about it. But if you pull them in towards your spine and then think of your spine lengthening so there's like spacers between each of your vertebrae, no matter what the position is, that is a support. So if you're doing the bench press and you have your arms are, out to the side, it would be important that you're positioned so that your lower root, your lower core is supported. And that energy, that strength then can help you flex your arm muscles and press that weight up over your head. So I believe Pilates is actually something that can help anyone and every body. I always say it's a mind, body, spirit connection. And Joseph Pilates, that was his teaching. It was the art of control. It was the science and art of contrology. Those were the advertisements he had when he was alive many decades ago.
When you were talking to me about your training, I remember telling me how you had to work on different body types, where part of the testing was you have a person who comes in with this problem or
Knee
whatever.
issues
Knee
or
issues. And
shoulder joint issues.
it's a 60-year-old woman or it's a
Yep.
30-year-old man. I remember you always were saying,
Yeah.
I've got to be prepared for any sort of body type. So how important is it to know these exercises for the body type that you're working on?
Exactly. So what was once called contrology, now called classical or authentic Pilates. And in order to learn the over 500 exercises that Joseph Pilates created with all the various pieces of apparatus, aka equipment, as well as the mat exercises that don't utilize any kind of spring system, I had to learn how all of those exercises could be applied and effective for a person who was an Olympic athlete or a professional dancer, as well as all the way, any kind of injury, any kind of age, male, female, all the way down to a person who, let's say, was half paralyzed, which is what Joseph Pilates used to do when he basically started inventing a lot of these exercises during World War II. So to be able to see the improvement in the individual I was working with, I had a client that had a stroke and could barely open up her hand, right? So he had to like pry her hand open in order to hold the handle. But to see how much strength she could get to start to balance out the two sides that were now disconnected. Again, all of this goes back to connecting the mind to the body and, of course, then uplifting your spirit. So over the past couple of decades of me teaching Pilates and seeing all walks of life, one thing I really, really want to change is the client that thinks that the work is too easy. That means you're not really connecting to your body, because nothing about it should feel easy. The most basic mundane movement can be difficult if you understand that you're firing your muscles, you're in charge of you, you're working the exercise is not working you. You want to be so in charge of, you're basically defying gravity. I've seen people take their legs up and over their head, and then the whole body basically as a plank comes down, like almost like a circus performer, like flat, like so that you're basically horizontal to the ground, holding their entire body like a gymnast. I've just a regular client, because they have that much deep conditioning strength. The muscle is developed from the inside out. So a lot of weightlifting develops the muscle from the outside. There's not necessarily something wrong with that. I'm not suggesting that. But this is a deep conditioning. It is a complement. And as we get older and our body changes, it is really an essential part of living.
When I first did Pilates with you, I felt like, where's the weight? How can I do a workout without like free weights? Because, there are springs. I understand there's resistance, but I was very, very confused. And what I've learned over the years that I've been doing it is that when you do put a connection between your brain and your muscles and you do the work, it can be so hard. Like, you could be shaking. It could be so hard because you're actually making that connection, which you are often not doing when you're using free weights.
Exactly. I actually have a quote here from Joseph Pilates. I'm just going to take a second to read. It says, "Contrology is designed to give you suppleness, natural grace, and skill that will be unmistakably reflected in the way you walk, in the way you play, and in the way you work. You will develop muscular power with corresponding endurance, ability to perform arduous duties, to play strenuous games, to walk, run, or travel for long distances without undue body fatigue or mental strain." When you're in the gym, it feels sometimes overwhelming to the body because you are distracting or distracted almost on purpose, right? Like I said, the design of the gym in a way is almost taking you outside of your body. The design of the Pilates, the classical Pilates, I cannot speak for all the other Pilates shops that are popping up with kind of a club environment or whatever. So that is not what I'm speaking to. Joseph Pilates believed a brain could not concentrate for longer than 45 minutes. So the sessions are 50 minutes, 50 minutes. There is no room to think about your grocery list, nothing. You put your highest level of concentration into your workout, and the outcome is next level effectiveness. And I've seen it for decades.
So when you are training someone in Pilates, can you tell when someone's mind is wandering? And when they do, what do you do to try to get them back?
Actually, that's funny that you say that. And if my clients are listening, hi. Yes. So I really like to talk in the beginning of the session about, especially clients who've been taking for years, not to let their brain go on autopilot, because just like anything else, the second they sit and lay down on the reformer, let's just say as an example.
The reformer is one of the pieces of apparatus.
Yes, it's very commonly used. Everyone loves it. You can do so many things on it. And the first thing they do is they put their feet up on the bar and push the carriage out. So it's kind of like it's called footwork. And oftentimes it's just like used as a warm up. I prefer to have our clients stop, take a minute, release all thoughts, bring your mind into your body, bring your mind into your foot, your placement, your inner thighs, your abdominals, and we do like a checklist going up through the entire body. And not just to make sure they're aligned, which is part of why I'm hovering over top, it's to make sure they're firing their muscles before they do one motion. You could be shaking already just sitting there. So then when you press out and you push, the muscles are activated and you're in charge of them. That is the Pilates method, not just the exercises back and forth on autopilot.
When you talk about people working out and they will say, can you make it harder? Can you make the springs heavier? And the opposite is actually true, right? Like the springs actually make it easier because that creates this ability to have resistance. But when you take the springs away, there is no resistance. So you have to do all of the work with your body.
Yes, I might have popped the springs off when a client asks that, so they can start to learn to understand that they are the ones in charge of themselves. The movement of a spring is similar to a muscle, right? It expands and it contracts. It opens and closes. It's resisting, right? And so the pressing and opening of the spring, the obvious tension, what happens when the spring wants to close and bring it back to its resting state? It's helping you, right? It's pulling you back, right? So if you don't resist that, so the push and the pull, both parts of the work is a workout, right? So a lot of times that's missed, especially again in these big groups. So the firing of your muscles prior to going for any workout that you do is a wonderful way to start to connect your mind to your body and to your muscles. Another place that Pilates shows up as being gold is when people are doing a workout that is one-sided, like golf, tennis, pickleball. These are all very popular hobbies and sports, right? So that's using one side of the body all the time. And Pilates is the best thing you could do to try to balance your body, and so both sides stay equal, so you don't end up having injuries. A lot of injuries come when we work on one side all the time. It fatigues, and then the other side has to try to compensate. So again, Joseph Pilates built in kind of an equal playing field. When you're in the Pilates studio, you always work both sides of the body, and you notice where the imbalances are, and you decide how the one side needs to strengthen, the other side needs to stretch. We do both, of course, every exercise, and it's whole body conditioning. So instead of in the gym where we oftentimes see the upper body, what do you call it, like a leg day, a arm day.
You focus on certain areas, like you'll do a bench day or squat day or something like that.
Yeah. So we do not do that in Pilates. It is entire body conditioning, each exercise, which means you're not missing out anything ever. And of course, last but not least, each exercise stems from the center core muscles. We've called it the powerhouse. And it is literally the center of your body. It's your abdominals, your glutes, your midsection, right? It's the glue that holds your limbs all together in your torso. It is the first place we strengthen in Pilates. And I know from experience in a lot of other forms of workout, if the abdominal core region is mentioned, it's oftentimes just a small portion of the class and oftentimes at the tail end. So we believe it a completely different science that if your core is strong, the body is supported. And lastly, Joseph Pilates wasn't hopeful that people were doing these exercises just to do them. They were so that you can live your daily life in your best shape, especially as the body ages. So you want to be able to reach up high in the cupboard and get the mug, or get down on the floor with your grandkids forever, right? And the only way to do that is to have the proper balance of not only balance, which is part of our work, but the proper balance between strength and stretch. So it's not a stretch system, it's everything. And it complements every part of your life. The positive side of this work is the mind clears and you are capable of all the things on your list. The mind expands. It's like a meditation. It's like you've just gone through a meditation at the same time that you've worked your muscles. It teaches the nervous system that you're safe, your joints are protected, and really you get an increase of clarity. And that is working on your mental health in addition to your physical health. There really are many different ways to achieve this type of mind-body conditioning. Obviously, we just spent an episode talking about the backstory of Pilates, classical, authentic Pilates. And there are other forms of mind-body conditioning like yoga. And even simple, so to speak, meditating is one of the hardest things for people to do. But if anything you get out of this episode, please take a moment to center yourself, center your mind. It will go so far if you take a 5-minute brain break, a 5-minute physical break from whatever your actual activity is, and bring it into your own inside self, whether that's before you do a regular workout at a gym, whether that's before you take a walk. It all goes back to that setting your intention.
I'm really, really happy that you decided to become an expert in this and stay in Virginia Beach with me and that you said yes.
I did say yes, and I did all the things. So yeah, I think I might have just rambled on about a lot of things, didn't I?
No, you were great. I thought it was very interesting, and I think if anybody wants to give us any sort of feedback,
Yes,
feel free.
if you have questions about anything that I've talked about, by all means, please always email chimingin911@gmail.com, or you can message me on any of the social media. I would, absolutely love to hear from you. And I have toyed around with the idea of doing a Zoom or almost like a seminar online so that I can teach people some of this work from all over. So I know not everybody can get to me, obviously, here in Virginia Beach and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, maybe just give me a little message. Oh, and please don't forget to share with other people. You guys have been amazing. We can see that there's so many people listening, so we so appreciate the listens, and it really helps us if you can click the follow button.
Yes.
And or the stars, 5 stars.
We know that there are people that are listening but not following because the numbers are so different. So
yeah, so get on it.
that's right.
Help
That's
a girl out.
Your task for the week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.